Welcome to The Bunker for this week's Solidarity Not Charity podcast, where we're focusing on Palestine because we've had loads of people feeling very helpless watching what's going on in Gaza at the moment and coming and asking what they practically can do to help, to support, rather than just, sitting and talking in their own houses about it. So we've invited Catherine to come along and talk to us about BDS and a range of other issues.
Tonight we have Catherine Hutton, a long-standing activist, a member of Derry IPSC. It's Ireland Palestine Solidarity campaign. Welcome to The Bunker, Catherine.
Thank you very much, Kat, and thank you very much, Gary. I'm just delighted to be here.
As Kat was saying, the horror of what's unfolding is and emerging from Palestine. A lot of people just feel helpless. They want to help, but they feel that there's nothing practical that they can do. But as a long-standing activist, you know that that's not the truth. Mm-hmm. That's not accurate, that there is things that can be done. What can the people of Derry or the Northwest or people of Ireland, what can you do in solidarity or to help support the Palestinians in their hour of need?
Well, I just want to give you a really quick history of what the Boycott and Divestment and Sanctions movement is. It's a Palestinian-led movement which was set up in 2005, and it was a call by civil society organisations in Palestine to start boycotting Israeli produce, sanctions. They're calling for sanctions against banks, against big corporations that are complicit in the Israeli occupation, and also divestment from institutions, like getting universities and big pension funds to divest from Israeli banks, because all that is funding the occupation, the military occupation, as well as everything else that it comprises of. It's become global. The BDS movement has become global. It's modelled on the South Africa and what happened in South Africa and the movement that grew from apartheid system in South Africa. And as you probably know, the history of apartheid, Ireland was one of the leading lights in helping bring down apartheid in South Africa. And it was ordinary people on the ground, shop workers and Duns, down in I think it was Dublin. They came out and they refused to handle South African produce. They were sacked for it. But when apartheid fell, Nelson Mandela, one of the first places he visited was Ireland. So what I'm going to say is, the BDS principle is that they are saying Palestinians are human beings just like the rest of us, and they deserve the same rights and freedom and equality as the rest of us do. So, for example, on a day-to-day basis, the money you spend, you spend in the supermarket, you can change what you buy. You don't have to buy produce from Israel. It can range from your fruit and veg, your peppers, your avocados, your potatoes.
Say I'm in Sainsbury's right now and I'm looking to buy all of that. How do I know which ones to buy and not to buy?
Well, what I would advise people is take a second, even 10 seconds, and check the label. The peppers in places like Tesco's or Sainsbury's tend to have a mixed origin. So if you're buying a pack of 3, look at the label, because it may say Holland, Israel, Holland, or vice versa, or Spain, Israel. Is that
deliberate, do you think, Catherine? Is it to hide the Israeli connection, or is it just...
I think it probably is, but they would say that, oh no, it's just to do with environmental thing, about not packaging, reducing packaging and everything. But it's important to check those labels, and also to check, if you're buying loose fruit and vegetables, check the origin it's usually on the front of the box. And the potatoes is a difficult one. It can be tricky because there's a Northern Irish company called Wilson's Potatoes, and everybody buys them, and they're usually fairly cheap, but they import potatoes from Israel. So when you're buying them, now they do have to label them produce of Israel packed in Northern Ireland, but they are Israeli potatoes. So it's very important to check them as well. I think Sabra humus is one of the big ones globally. It's mainly on sale in Sainsbury's. If you like hummus, then don't buy Sabra, because you're literally taking... the people that are, the companies that are trading in these goods are literally stealing from the Palestinians. You know, they're stealing their land, they're displacing them, they're ethnically cleansing them so that they can grow these fruits and vegetables and make hummus and sell it as their own produce.
And make a profit on it.
And make a profit and prop up the occupation. And also, sorry.
You've done a wee PowerPoint for us and we're going to put that up on the page. But do you want to go through some of the specific products that we should be boycotting as well so that everybody knows?
Absolutely. Well, I know it's probably one that's well known, but the Loopy Loo baby wipes and Lidl, they are made in Israel. So if people, you know, you do have a choice, you don't have to buy those, and there's plenty of other options. Unfortunately, Home Bargains, which is a large store in Derry, in which, you know, I have to say myself, is very reasonably priced for a lot of things. And, you know, given the cost of living crisis, you know, a lot of people will be buying their essentials there. I took the time to go around and have a look, and their shelves are absolutely packed with Israeli products, from Dead Sea salts to skin cleansers, the baby wipes, the washing machine liquids. I'm trying to think what else. But it'll be in the PowerPoint anyway. I took photographs of all the products and with the labels on them so that people will know what to avoid. What I would say, like the Dead Sea stuff, it particularly affects me because I just know from having been in Palestine and having seen it and seen the decimation, and, you know, they're just totally destroying the area environmentally. They're drawing away all the resources, and they're just, you know, it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. So Boots also sells Dead Sea salts products, as do Superdrug and many other, you know, pharmacies or places that sell beauty products.
I think it's very important, Catherine. You drew the comparison there regarding the Dunn stores, you know, and that was just ordinary, a group of, you know, I don't think it was particularly planned at the start, but a group of Dublin women or Irish women, Mullers and grandmothers, who just had enough. They've seen enough of what, you know, the apartheid system was doing to people in South Africa, and they just said, we're not touching your produce, and that snowballed, and the reaction by the firm and that. And I think, you know, it's one of those proud moments that here was a group of just Dublin mammies that just said, we aren't touching, because we know, whilst it might be bananas or whatever the produce was, or oranges, they were saying there's a lot more to that. Yeah. So I think, you know, BDS, it's a peaceful, non-violent way of protest, of showing, you know. So when you're buying baby wipes or you're buying stuff, you know, you are funding a machine that is slaughtering, making no distinction between men, women or children, combatants, non-combatants. It's used, they fund that state. It's as you said, it's being taken off. So I think that would, when people feel so hopeless, just watching the news, watching Twitter, watching that is a practical thing that they can do and be part of a world movement that's saying enough is enough, and we're going to use whatever couple of pound you're spending, it won't be going to fund the atrocities being carried out by Israel.
Let's break it down a wee bit further too, because I think a lot of people are familiar with the term BDS and maybe even know what boycott, divestment and sanctions mean, but they're not really aware of how they all kind of lead into each other. So boycott, obviously everybody knows what it is, and you've said some of the products that we're not supposed to buy. Yeah. We're all part of IPSC, and we've had a couple of campaigns over the years where we've gone and put stickers in shops on different products. That's another thing people can do. You want to tell us about filling trolleys with stuff and how that works as well?
I just want to make one other point. One of the big campaigns at the moment that BDS or the BDS movement are pushing is against Puma. And Puma fund Israeli football teams that are based in settlements. So I would really implore people, do not buy Puma products, be it football shirts, be it, you know, fashion items, whatever. Please do not buy Puma.
I think they were sponsoring Cliftonville Football Club up until recently, and I'm not sure, but I think that pressure from BDS movement has made Cliftonville reconsider that. I think that they have withdrew from that.
That's brilliant to hear.
You know, so it can and it does work.
And I also want to say too, like that there was a young football team from Gaza that came to Ireland in 2018 from the Hilal football team, and they were all children, like they were all in their 10, 11, 12s. and one of them in particular stood out, you know, and he wanted to go on and be a professional footballer, and he was killed yesterday.
Jeez.
I know that the recent protests that they were deliberately shooting, snipers were shooting
Their ankles and their
in
knees.
the ankles and knees, and there's thousands of young Palestinians who have false limbs, and that it seems to be a very cruel and deliberate tactic from them that.
So boycotting in terms of putting trolleys together, and then I wanted to ask you as well, Hewlett Packard's one of the big ones to avoid. What did you guys do with your...
In council, when Derry City and Strabane District Council's corporate position is that we support Palestine and that we support BDS. So the corporate position in Derry and Strabane is that, you know, we support, as you've outlined there. When we went on the council initially, we were given Hewlett Packard printers, and a number of councillors removed them or brought them back, handed them back, and said we won't be using them. And as I say, the corporate position is that you know, we support that. Now, council has dragged its heels since that, but one thing that they did do is that we are no longer supplied with Hewlett or Packard printers, but they have dragged their heels, you know, and they I think it's a bit of fear, because, as you know, we you know, the powers that be throughout the world are cracking down on and issuing all sorts of threats, whether it be protests, whether it be
BDS especially.
Anybody who speaks up now is being accused of being anti-Semitic. You know what I mean? Even though the issues with Zionism is not with a particular religion, it's the Zionist project. And
you know yourself, Gary, from that letter that was sent out to all the councils from the Home Office. Was it the Home Office or I'm not sure who looks what's higher up, but basically telling councils you are not to endorse BDS, that unless
it's from a list that they have, like Russia. Yeah. You know, so they can tell you.
So they've excluded Israel from that.
Who you can boycott and who you're not. It's very, you know, it's wrong in the first place. People have a choice where they want to spend their money and what they want to buy, but they're saying don't do it with A, B, or C, but you can do it with Russia. Very political, and it's very
Yeah. So, sorry, back to what you were asking me about the trolleys. Well, what we did before, and this was kind of pre-COVID, and things have kind of been just ramping up slowly since, you know, we come out of lockdown. But what we'd done in the past in the Marks and Spencer's and also Tesco's and Sainsbury's, where we would have went in, we would have handed a letter to the manager in the store. We would have filled a trolley with all the products that had, you know, that were labelled produce of Israel, and we would have taken them up to the till, and we would have said, look, you know, we've cleared the shelves for you. Now do the same. You know, whenever people are coming on to buy, take the stuff away. Don't promote it. Don't fund the occupation. It's difficult because a lot of these big companies, they don't care. Ultimately, it's just their bottom line. They don't care what they sell. Yeah, it's all about making money, and they all have these anti-slavery statements, and they all have all these lovely moral codes that they follow. But when it comes to Israel as an exception, as you can see, has been there's been an exception made for them in so many different ways. So what I'm asking people to do is make an exception. Don't buy Israeli products. Don't buy anything associated with them. And the best way to keep yourself informed is to check out the BDS movement website. They are very, very good. They've broken down everything. And also follow our page, Derry IPSC, because we will keep regularly updating as things come up, because the BDS movement has this, they say their principle is all Israeli products should be boycotted. Right? Because they all contribute in some way to the occupation, but some are more complicit than others. And sometimes it's like if you throw your net too wide, you won't have any effect. Yeah. So they have certain targets, like Puma's one big target, AXA insurance. If anybody has their cars insured with AXA, you can change it. Or, you know, and make sure you tell AXA too why you're doing it. But you know, that's the thing that people say, well, why don't you boycott this or why don't you boycott that? We can boycott everything we want, but the BDS movement specifically asks people for certain targets because that's where the most success can be had. And in the past, companies like Veolia, a French, telecoms or water, I think, and Orange, they pulled out of Israel. And I think there's been quite a few recently. There's been the Norwegian pension funds have all pulled out. They've pulled out their money.
A couple of churches too who have pension funds and that were invested, and they've removed that.
And we all have the right to ask those questions of if you are a person that attends church, whether it be no matter what your faith is, you have the right to ask, where is your money invested?
Yeah, no, I did read that. I think it was, I'm not sure the church, but there has been churches who've divested their pension funds and withdrawn it, and which is, from a moral point of view, it's correct.
It's honourable.
So that's the boycott bit, the divestment bit. What's the sanctions bit?
Well, sanctions is what BDS movement wants us as consumers and also as people to pressure our governments, pressure our political representatives. They impose sanctions. Now, we know what sanctions are because we see with Ukraine and Russia, that they stop, they freeze their assets, their financial assets. They stop trade and certain things. And it's all to hurt the economy, and they try and force change. So that's all we're asking. That's all the BDS movement is asking governments to actually impose sanctions. The Irish government at the moment have a piece of legislation called the Occupied Territories Bill, which has passed through 3 stages and is ready to be written into law. But they have obviously pressure from America, pressure from the EU. They have sat on their hands and they haven't passed it. There's also a settlements divestment bill which should be passed. These are bare minimum things.
So as local people, what we can do is write to your elected representatives.
Write to your elected representatives, and also attend events, attend rallies, make yourself aware of what is available and what resources are there if you want to learn more about it, and keep up to date with what the BDS movement is doing. So definitely, I think writing to your representatives, writing to your MP. We have one MP here. Make use of him.
Yeah, there is a difference. You can see the attitude toward Russia, where Russia and NATO. Ukraine conflict that's going on, and you can see that the senior European officials, whether they say that during the Russian conflict, where they were saying that they cut the electricity off to that village, it's a war crime and needs to be called out. But the same officials have remained completely quiet. They've imposed all the sanctions against Russia, but Israel here seems to be given a just do what you want. That calls recently by European leaders and the US saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. It seems to have been a green light. Go and do what you need to do, and we will say nothing. We won't do anything about it. And that there's a perception out there amongst people that's exactly what they're doing. There seem to be, they're looking for a second Nakba, or they're telling people, leave, we'll give you a quarter, and as soon as they go out on that quarter, they then bomb. It's all
about grabbing land,
and the world doesn't.
But it's a human rights issue.
It's a human rights issue.
No matter what your politics are, having water, electricity, everything cut off is a human rights issue.
That's totally right. But from the Israeli point of view, they just want more land, and they want Palestinians off that land. So whatever happens now, there's going to be a certain amount of Gaza that they're going to try and grab, and they're not going to allow people to return home.
You would think, gathering at this, if you weren't sort of following the whole thing, you'd think this conflict started last Saturday,
7th of October,
with Hamas resistance and what they did. You think, and some of the media and commentators are saying that Hamas have started a civil war or started this conflict, but people like yourself have been protesting for decades. You've stood in the street, you've stood at Free Dairy Corner, you've stood in the bridges, you've stood in Guildhall Square. We've all stood there for decades protesting, but the narrative now is that this started last week. Absolutely.
I mean, the from 2000 and, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to think, was it 2004 whenever Hamas came to power and through an election, through a properly run election.
I think it was last 16 years, was it?
The Israelis started bombarding Gaza after that. So it was like nearly every 2 years and a cycle. That's when the blockade started. Okay. And there's never been, I mean, we all know the mainstream media never cover it. I mean, it was always last on the list of things they report, you know, but because of what's happened on the 7th of October, and it's terrible that innocent civilians had to die, but nobody cared when thousands of them were being massacred in Gaza in 2014.
A large number.
In 2021. Yes.
We've had a couple of questions that we asked for, and one of them directly ties into this, and it's quite long-winded, so I'm not going to read it all out. But somebody has just said, I hope the podcast is prepared to condemn the actions of Hamas on the 7th of October. So, like, my take on that would be, we're trying to do the podcast to say positively, what can everybody do? And condemnation's not positive. Condemnation doesn't have an impact. Everybody in the world can condemn whatever they want, but it doesn't really achieve anything. What would you say, Catherine?
Well, I agree. I mean, I think that what happened, I'll just basically what you said, Gary, it didn't happen in a vacuum. No. And whatever happens from now on, even if the Israelis militarily can remove Hamas, they're not going to remove the Palestinians' desire to resist occupation. You know, that's been going on for 75 years. They'll make it stronger. And they've got to deal with the bigger problem, which is the occupation.
Yeah.
You know?
Hamas is a symptom
of
what's going on there. You know, when the Israelis bombed Lebanon and Hezbollah, they didn't win. Hezbollah came back stronger.
Exactly.
When previous bombing campaigns by Israel, Hamas came back stronger. You know, it doesn't achieve anything. It's demanded of everybody. You know, I don't want to see soldiers dying, killing each other, let alone civilians being slaughtered or bombed or killed. You said it, Kat, condemnation
achieves nothing.
It achieves absolutely. If condemnation could achieve anything, then there wouldn't be a problem in the world. No. Because all we'd have to do is condemn something.
Right. We have two kind of negative questions and a handful of positive ones. Let's finish the negative ones so we can move on
some of
into
this
the positive notes.
has been dealt with, but it's does the BDS movement call for a boycott of all Israeli products or just products and companies from illegal Israeli settlement? And can people here actually make an impact by not buying Israeli-made goods? What can be achieved by boycotting Israeli goods as a consumer?
Well, the settlement question is straightforward.
The settlement question is straightforward. BDS movement advocates that we boycott all Israeli products because that's the only way to cause economic pain.
But there is an added, urgency for the settlements, isn't it? There's an
added urgency, definitely, but the stuff that comes from the settlements, there is something in European law that means they have to label that they've come from a settlement. But I don't know, it's not strong enough, put it that way. And that's why the Occupied Territories Bill in the Republic, that's what they're pushing to get that passed. But even that is only covering settlement products, whereas BDS movement is saying just boycott Israeli products. Boycott all Israeli products. So if you check the labels, watch, look at our page, see what we put out, check out the BDS movement website, and there we will be bang up to date with what the campaigns are ongoing at the minute. And every single person that makes a change, that boycotts Israeli products, is like a ripple in a pond.
Yeah.
I
think we can see the protests around the world, from small or well attended or respectable, to massive, huge, and there's more amounts of Jewish people, or
Jewish people
who are taking part and saying not in our name. You see the protests here getting bigger and stronger. There is an event coming up, or is there a number of events coming up, Catherine? Because I think that solidarity, as Nelson Mandela, as you said, when he got out of jail, he remembered, what happened in Ireland, and I think solidarity, international solidarity, the beleaguered people of Palestine is very, very important.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important that they're well attended. There is some stuff happening in there.
Yeah, there's a big rally organised for Saturday in the Guildhall Square.
21st of October.
The 21st of October at 1 p.m, and we encourage everybody to come out and show the people of Palestine that the people of Derry stand with them. I mean, the people of Derry have been so steadfast all through the years, in terms of Palestine, and they've been so generous with their money, especially lately with the Irish in Gaza water project, where we've seen a practical thing that people could do. They could donate to Irish in Gaza, which the links are up on our Facebook page. 86,000 litres of water delivered the next day. So that's real and it's tangible.
Recent collection at a,
Yeah.
at a protest.
At an event last week,
Great. No, it's just when you're seeing actual, as you say, tangible
Tangible
there's the
evidence
of where your couple of pounds going to.
And no matter how small the money you can donate, or it really, or even just share the link. If you can't afford it, just share the link for the donation with people, because that's what they need right now. They're able to access water in the ground, but what they need is, the money there to pay people to deliver it.
And that's the the Israelis have always used the water as a tool.
They turn it off and turn it on.
Turn it off and on, and turn the electricity off and on. So it's a huge problem.
What about medical aid for Palestinians, Catherine?
Medical aid for Palestinians is also another brilliant. They're very reputable, and they're on the ground. They're in the hospitals. They've been on TV talking. In fact, one of the main surgeons in Shifa Hospital, it's the biggest hospital in Gaza, he has been, you could follow him on Twitter. He's called Ghassan Abu Sita, and I will let you put that. I'll send you his Twitter thing. He has been talking, keeping everybody updated what's happening. Unfortunately, while he has been in Gaza trying to save lives, the British counter-terrorism police arrived at his house and terrorised his wife and children.
And 2 police officers and 2 social workers.
Yes.
And somebody who's trying to save lives, and I think he's a plastic surgeon.
He's a professor. He's a plastic surgeon.
And they landed at the door and started questioning his family. That it's just a blatant campaign of intimidation.
That's exactly right.
But for anybody who's looking to donate, who's in a position that they
he works with Matt as well. And so medical aid for Palestinians, what they do is they have stockpile. Well, they probably don't have any more, but they've had stockpiles of medical products, which they look after the Palestinian diaspora, as well as, which is the people that are refugees, like in Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and they also look after Palestinians inside Palestine and Gaza as well. So they've been pushing all their products from their stockpiles into Gaza at the minute to try and help, but obviously it's running out, and it's not. The other problem is what they have there has run out, and what they want to get in can't get in. So it's just an awful situation at the moment. Rafah border, which is the border between Gaza and Egypt, it's due to open tomorrow, but the Israelis are saying that only 20 trucks will be allowed in, which is like a spit in the ground.
We've a couple other negative questions maybe to just get through. Somebody said, do you know that Sinn Féin regularly meet with the Israeli regime? I'm assuming that they're talking about the Likud party, and they've gone on to talk about funding and stuff. My answer to that would be none of the 3 of us is a member of Sinn Féin, but that's information that if anybody wants to, they can publicly go.
Yeah, it's in the public domain, and they can look it up on Google if they want. Then
we were talking locally, Catherine, about influencers having pressure put on them or being asked to support Palestine. Yes, it's come to our attention really that there have been 1 or 2 influencers who have come out openly and spoken about what's happening in Gaza and been very supportive and putting up statements. But there has been other ones asked if they would use their platform for good and actually, support the people of Gaza at the minute, and support what's basically promote what's happening here in terms of events, and also, show solidarity with the people of Palestine. And unfortunately, they've come up lacking, and they've basically said, they've so many followers, and obviously they get sponsorship deals and they get freebies and whatever else, so they're not too keen to advertise that, or what's the word, put their flag up. So they're just pounds over morals. So all I would say to people is, the influencers and the people that follow them, don't follow them.
Yeah,
don't follow them. If you don't share, if you support Palestine and you stand in solidarity with Palestine, don't follow people who are not willing to put their head above the parapet.
The moral courage or conviction to stand up and say that something is wrong. And that's the part of the problem in the world, that, I think the leaders don't represent everybody. They don't represent decent people who are abhorred. There was a vote recently, and I think it was the US anyway, and Britain, and I can't remember who the third is. I think it might have been Japan, voted against a call to end hostilities. Why would you do that? But I think the West and the US have given them a go ahead.
And I think as well on a global, but also on a local level, we have to take party politics or any other kind of politics out of this.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
you're trying to achieve something which is supporting a cause that is grossly responsible for a major human rights violation,
It shouldn't
anything
matter.
else that you believe should be left aside.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that on the Saturday, the 28th of October at 2 p.m. outside Home Bargains, we will be holding a protest and an action about boycotting Israeli goods, and it's going to be an all-Ireland day of action. So I would encourage everybody to come and join with us and support, and also, create awareness around the products that are on sale in Home Bargains.
So to end maybe on a positive note, if people are trying to get what they can practically take away from this, if you want to summarize, BDS, attend the protests and make sure that your donations are going to reputable organisations.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, keep an eye on our page, our Facebook page, Derry IPSC, and our Twitter, if you're on Twitter, or X as it's called.
On Facebook and any type of social media, get out there and promote.
Share everything. Share
Well,
everything.
listen, Catherine, it's been a pleasure. And
Thank you very
We'll
much.
see you again on Saturday.
see you on Saturday outside.
Yeah, and I hope everybody turns up, because that's what we need. We need to show a positive. We need to show the positive
Yeah.
of what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.